And welcome back to coverage here at the new Capenna Championship. Marshall Cycliffe with Paul Cheon. And let's not forget, Paul, we've got a tournament to play here. We've been talking a lot about the World Championship and the seats that are going for that. But if we zoom in a little bit to today, this tournament right now, we've got David Inglis, who is on the verge of making top 8. May already be there with the record he's got at 11-1. He's also secured his World Championship seat, as we mentioned before. Mike Sigrist on the other side of the table. Great run today for Mike. 10-2 is Mike's record. You know, I was looking at the Discord where the players kind of hang out in there, and they think that there's going to be a decent number of 11-win players that could make top 8 of this event. So Sigrist, he's on the verge, and Inglis, if he wins this match, is just actually locked for top 8. Like, his day will be done, and he'll be in no matter what. He's got a good chance of being locked anyway, but Siggy on the top there, he could be good to go with a win as well.
Yeah, and we've seen this matchup a few times, I want to say, today, and these are basically carbon copies of the decks that we just saw in the last round. Both Mike Sigrist on the same testing team as Gabriel Nassif, and of course, David Inglis on the same testing team as PVDDR. We've already seen the food deck do its thing in this matchup. The Phoenix deck really needs to come off with an incredibly fast start to have a chance. And Sigrist kind of doing what he, kind of heading in that direction here with that turn 1 Symmetry Sage. Cauldron Familiar does not get in the way. They kind of jokingly call Symmetry Sage the Delver of this format.
Oh, I like it.
1-mana 3/3 flyer a lot of the time.
So far, it's done that. It down to 17 goes David. He's found a Cauldron Familiar and a Ravenous Squirrel to go with his Witch's Oven, though. So the table is set for him.
David, Familiar Squirrel Oven. I mean, come on. Come on.
You're doing your Mike Sigrist impression right now.
He's probably I'm sure he's doing the same thing. And I'm sure the viewers as well, right? It's like, oh, you're right. This deck is doing the thing. But, I mean, Sigrist right here, we're looking at 6 damage at least coming in this turn, right?
That's true.
We've got the loot. We got 2 lootings and an opt, and we have a Phoenix in hand.
Really a fantastic run for Mike here at 10-2. I mentioned the World Championship race, David Inglis having secured his seat. Sigrist isn't really in the hunt for a seat as far as the race goes that we've been talking about throughout the course of the weekend, but there's a very direct route to the World Championship, and that's making the top
old-fashioned way, Marshall,
and then winning a match on Sunday, and that'll put you in the top 6, which is another way to qualify. And I'm sure Mike will be thinking about that if he can make it to the top 8. For now, though, it's business time. He's got to try to get there.
More Phoenixes?
No, there's a pillar.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough.
It is too late, yeah.
It is too late. There is a Familiar in the graveyard.
Yeah, it's always too late.
People oftentimes think they can kill the squirrel, but no, you can never kill the squirrel.
Yeah, Mike's going to see that one, but he can go for another Faithless looting and maybe even hit another Phoenix here.
Phoenix?
Just the once. Oh, there's a Phoenix. That's a real clock now.
That's a 2-turn clock.
Make it 9 in the air. We know that David can gain some life here thanks to the Cauldron Familiar, but still, this is some heat coming in for Mike Sigrist. Again, I'll remind you, we're on turn 3. If you're wondering why people like this deck, yeah, just 9 you.
In the air, no less. So now, I mean, David Inglis will be able to survive, I think, for another turn, but desperately needs to find a Meat Hook Massacre.
Maybe that Pillar of Flame will actually find a home on David's.
To the face.
To the dome.
Yeah. To the dome. That's that's 11 damage.
Mm-hmm. Triple Witch's Oven draw here from David. He also has Trail, Double Phyrexian Tower, and Cauldron Familiars in his graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, and this is exactly the start you need, right? I feel like maybe one Phoenix was just not enough there.
Agreed.
Right? Kind of just needed the second one, and now all of a sudden there's all the pressure here for David Inglis to try to find that key sweeper by next turn to survive.
Yeah, because we talked about it last time, just a shortcut for you and I, Paul. People don't beat this combo, right? Oven Cat plus Trail of Crumbs is extremely difficult to beat. Mike Sigrist must have heard us, though, and taken some exception to it, because he is putting a beat down on David Inglis right now and trying to prove us wrong.
Now, David can get in for a good amount of damage here.
Don't tell me Mike is dead here.
No,
Just don't.
I don't think so. I don't think so, Marshall.
He might be.
I mean, David can't be ahead here, can he? Because look, I mean, he's at 14 life. So this, even with the Pillar of Flame, what is going on?
I swear to God, Paul, if David wins this game, I'm just never touching another Arclight Phoenix in my life, ever. I'm off it. I'll learn how to play this food deck. I'll embrace
10,
the complication.
11? Is he one short? I think he's one short of lethal this turn.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
That's
you return the familiar, and that's 12. Holy cow. And he can't die next turn now. Right? This is you cast Pillar of Flame, that's 11 damage. And Mike needs to draw another burn spell here, or he's just dead.
Unbelievable. And you're talking about just dead to Cauldron Familiar at this point. Ravenous Scroll doesn't even matter at this point.
It's like, oh, 9 damage on turn 3? That was pretty cute. Let me show you my move now.
Mike must just be shaking his head. How can you get more out of the deck than turn 1 Symmetry Sage, turn 3 double Arclight Phoenix? Like,
okay, so it starts with Expressive Iteration.
Okay,
now,
that's where we start.
Taking a look at this list, it only plays 1 Pillar of Flame. So you can't, that is not an out.
And their other burn doesn't go to the face, right?
So perhaps finding a Faithless Looting into another Phoenix, into a spell would be maybe the thing to do here. So you need to find the Phoenix. Consider can put a Phoenix into the graveyard if it's on top.
It has to be the top card.
And so that would be 14 damage, because if you can put a Phoenix into play, that's 12 damage coming in plus the Pillar of Flame.
So consider Phoenix goes in, Pillar of Flame.
If you can find a Phoenix here and put it in the yard.
And he only
there's
gets
already
the
2
one
in play. It's a 2-outer.
It's a 2-outer. It's got to be on top of the library here for Mike Sigrist.
Nope.
Oh, it's an opt. And that's not going to be good enough.
Nope. Could have found a Faithless Looting into double Phoenix, I guess, is the...
Sure.
But this is not going to be enough.
And he's showing him, look how close I was to beating you.
Get you down to 2, but then I'm dead on board.
Unbelievable. David Inglis won that game with Ravenous Squirrel.
Jeez.
Cracking for 10 last turn. And then so many Witch's Oven Cauldron Familiar activations that he got the job done. I'm in shock. If I'm Sigrist, I'm going, what is my life? Why did I choose this deck if it can't win with that draw? That's incredible.
I mean, that had to have been the top, 5 to 10% of Mike Sigrist deck's draws, right? But David Inglis also matched him, right? I mean, we're talking about Squirrel triple Cat Oven, right?
Right. That is the fastest way to pile on damage, because every time you do the loop, you're getting the drain and also adding a power to the squirrel. So
yeah, that was just a turn 4 kill from the Golgari food deck.
Like actual turn 4 kill from food. And the funny part is, he ended up with the Trail of Crumbs, which is kind of the third part of the trifecta, but he just used it for food.
Don't have time.
It was just a food token. Crumbs. I mean, he cast it. He's just like, I just want the food.
No, yeah, I just need more triggers.
Wow. All right. Well, Mike's going to have to shake that one off. He's the one who's playing for more than David at this point. I mean, David is realistically... Look, he can win this match, the next one, or the next one to just hard lock top 8. And if he loses all 3, he came over overnight as one of our leaders. And that means that his tiebreakers are going to be better than everybody's. And so even with 11 wins, if the players were correct in the Discord lounge that they will be able to, that he'll get in anyway. Now, Sigrist, he's not in that spot. He's close though, right? If he can get to that 11th win, he'll be in that discussion that we talked about. The 12th would lock it up, of course. He could even lose here and win the next two to lock top 8 as well. So a lot of options for him. But
the important thing for Sigrist is needs at least one win, right? Between this match or the next two, needs at least one win, especially if we think that many people in 11 wins will make it in. That has not always been the case, right? So, of course, we can't just project everything. A lot of weird things can happen. But it starts with you absolutely cannot make it at 10 wins, right?
That's right.
So need to pick up this win. This matchup, though, kind of a tough one.
I don't like it anymore.
Did you like it ever?
I don't know. I thought it was okay before. Now I hate it. Wow. And Sigrist brutally mulliganing here. But so is David.
All right.
Well, in Faithless Looting, we trust. He's got the Arclight Phoenix, a red source, and a looting. What more do you need? It's actually a really good hand, all told. For 6, he's got Coast, Consider, Ledger Shredder, Channeler, Faithless Looting, Phoenix.
If that Coast was a Spire Bluff Canal or something, right, then this would just be ideal. As is, a little bit kind of on the slower end, right, because that land's going to come into play tapped.
Yeah, he probably would have preferred to get the Dragon's Rage Channeler down and then dig with looting, but maybe won't have that luxury.
And look, take a look at David's hand. It's got the cats, but doesn't have the oven yet, but it's probably on top.
Right on top of the Trail of Crumbs.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on with this hand. It has some nice pieces, but he would need to find more. He's going to keep it, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's on 6. There's plenty of great draws with what you have here, right? I mean, Oven, Trail of Crumbs, Deadly Dispute, just so many good live draws.
He put actually a Cauldron Familiar on the bottom. He drew a Castle Lockthwain for the turn. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't really want to see any more lands. He prioritized keeping 4 lands there, but drawing the 5th is not really what he wants to see. So he's going to go with Gilded Goose to start. Tap land, of course, for Sigrist. Let's see if we can find a land here.
Land here would be very nice.
He did not.
Yeah, because that would allow him to go Dragon's Rage Channeler into spell.
That's right. He's going to go with Consider here to try to hit his land drop, and he does. That can let him get the Sage down as well.
Yeah.
Or the Channeler.
Sage represents more damage.
Yes, it is better at this stage of the game. Ideally on turn 1, but turn 2, sure.
But the thing with the Sage is next turn you cannot play both of your red spells. Because you have to play the pathway as a blue source.
And that would have been nice, but he is saving the Faithless Looting for a turn when he can get Phoenix back.
Right.
All right, Deadly Dispute, and he's going to sacrifice an artifact to it.
There's a Trail of Crumbs.
There's that. Although we did give him credit for the oven, which he hasn't found yet. Oh, Spire.
All right. So this is a nice little turn where I think Siggy is just probably going to play his creatures. So just go Ledger Shredder into Dragon's Rage Channeler, get the Connive, can dump the Phoenix.
Is he worried about anything here? We see a treasure plus a potential land, so Massacre for 2, not really a big deal with the Shredder.
Yeah, I don't think Mike's in a position where he can.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter anyway. Oh, Paul.
All right, so we have Goose, Cat, Oven, Trail of Crumbs.
We were wrong, Paul. We were dead wrong. It was the Trail of Crumbs on top of the Witch's Oven, not the Witch's on top. Yeah, we got that completely.
There's a glitch in my prediction model.
We'll work on that after the show.
I'll have to work on that. Yeah.
All right. Well, David wants to put our theory to the test once again. Can anybody ever lose if they have these 3 cards going? And I don't think David's going to lose.
Well, David, I mean, there is a lot of evasive flyers, right, on Mike's side. David does have the ability to drain for 1 with that cat oven combo. However, no squirrel this time around to put that pressure on, right? So very likely that Dave is going to find the pieces, but doesn't have it just yet, right? Doesn't have the squirrel, doesn't have a meat hook massacre.
He
Would like to
only
find it
has
relatively
Cauldron's
soon.
familiar Trail of Crumbs Witch's Oven to work
that's
with.
it.
Poor guy. There's
He
the
has meat hook massacre. Doesn't have squirrel.
The list is dwindling
There it is.
quickly.
Meat hook massacre right now can't kill the ledger shredder.
All right. You
know?
found something, Paul. We got something. This is old half glass full Paul Cheon over here.
Hey, look.
He's trying.
I'm sure there are people rooting on the not Golgari food deck.
That is true. Also, Sigrist does have potentially more to win here than David does at this point. And the reason for that is David has crushed everybody all weekend.
Absolute destruction.
Yeah, he has really put on a show. Corey said it earlier when he was in the booth, but we're used to it now, right? We've seen David's name at the top of the standings for a couple of years now, but I mean, this is a real clinic.
Now, what can Siggy put together here?
More of the same. Some burn spells, some card filtering, some lands.
Yeah,
The majority of the deck is made of that.
Yeah, and can't find a third spell to play here, right? Because that Spirebluff Canal comes into play tapped.
Mm-hmm.
So hoping to find an untapped land here off the Consider, right? Because then you can fire off the Unholy Heat and then get that Arclight Phoenix that's in the graveyard into play. So this is big. This is a big Consider.
These Considers have been so high leverage for Mike.
Now get several looks here, though.
Oh, yeah, true.
He's
Surveil?
a favorite to find a land here.
Has to be. Oh, another Phoenix goes in the bin, too. Oh, that's a Shredder, though.
And
he gets to connive. Or, excuse me, a Channeler, but he gets to connive off Shredder.
Okay, yeah. Oh, right. He still needs to find the land, of course.
He does.
Okay.
He's looking at his yard.
Consider is now resolving land, untapped land. Oh, yes! There it is.
It is a Riverglide pathway.
Okay, so now, I mean, how much damage is coming in? This is 15? I want to say?
3, 6,
no
9.
More. 17.
It's even more because of the Shredder, 17.
Is this going to give him Delirium? Is this just a lethal attack?
No.
How close is he to it? No, it doesn't look like he has it.
Oh.
This is 17 damage. Meat Hook Massacre for 2. Excuse me, he can do it for 3 with the treasure. That does not kill the Ledger Shredder.
No, that Shredder's massive. It's a 3/5 on this board. He will gain enough life to survive, though, right? He'll gain 4?
He'll go up to 5. But remember, Symmetry Sage gives something 3 power. That pumps the Ledger Shredder into a potential lethal attack, right?
You're right. It absolutely does. The Shredder has 2 counters on it already. So 3 power base plus the 2 counters is 5.
You just Unholy Heat your Symmetry Sage or cast Faithless Looting?
Yes,
wow.
That is what he did. Mike did it. He actually beat the combo. Now, to be fair to David, he didn't get the Witch's Oven on the battlefield. Does it still count? I'm calling good there for Sigrist. He did it.
And he needed every last bit of that, by the way.
He did.
Right? Double
Literally
Phoenix
lethal.
Again. I mean, look, those are the types of draws you need, especially because Inglis had a great draw there, right? He kind of had all the pieces, but wow, what an explosive turn there for Mike Sigrist.
Fantastic, Mike fighting back. He's not going to go out like that. One more game here between these two players. David Inglis on cruise control.
However, David's on the play this time around. Big shift.
Interesting to note both players mulliganed that game as well, yet still put up really good performances between the two of them. The decks are both very low curve, right? Like if you take a quick look at David's deck there, that's the 1-drop slot next to Luris. I mean, you can see that this deck is made of 1-drops, and so is Mike's. Like most of Mike's cards are also 1 mana. So even on a mulligan, you can still do a lot of things. The question is just, do you find your combo pieces for David? And do you find your phoenixes for Mike? And so far, yes. In fact, he's had 2 excellent draws, even on the mulligan on that second one. Somehow couldn't get the job done with the first one inexplicably, but the second one just got over the line.
Okay, that's cat oven squirrel. That's what allowed David to win on turn 4 last time. Doesn't have all the ovens just yet. Jeez, okay.
Only one oven?
Well, they're on top.
Right.
Yeah.
There's Fatal Push. Hey, that's not too bad. You can have.
And I'm sure Mike is just thinking, oh, not again.
Yeah, and the answer is absolutely again.
Exact same sequencing here. 2/2 squirrel. Can't unholy heat it.
Exactly, and David keeps the Cauldron Familiar in the yard, but he could trigger that squirrel anytime.
Now David is just on the 2 lands. Mike able to get in for 3 here.
It's a start.
It's a start. Gonna need to find some ways to put some phoenixes into the graveyard. Probably not going to be able to race the squirrel with what's presently constructed.
No. Doesn't have a good answer for it. Can't race it. Has a hard time interacting with it. They can chump block it, but...
Yeah, and Colony Garden is a nice additional creature here for David, because he can go Colony Garden, make the token, and now he can safely return to Cauldron Familiar and have an extra sacrifice available.
And still get around Unholy Heat.
Right, and this allows him to get in for more damage this turn.
Right. 16 to 19 are the life totals here, so still early in game 3.
Yep.
And yeah, he's going to kick off the festivities here. Cauldron Familiar. Sacrifices a food. Puts that trigger on the stack for the Ravenous Squirrel. Technically a window for Sigrist here, but he doesn't actually have an opportunity to do it because of Witch's Oven.
Yeah, we're just maximizing the damage here. Is like, look, I can race you with this squirrel.
Yes.
Did it game 1, I can do it again. Might just sack it here too, just because you have the backup. You have the other familiar there too, and extremely unlikely for Mike to be able to kill a 5/5 squirrel.
And this clock is very real for David Inglis. He's going to get Mike down to 12.
And do you just not even care about the Symmetry Sage? Do you just run out familiar? No, it looks like he's keeping it up.
Kind of locks him into Fatal pushing it at some point here. Oh, there's a Phoenix.
There's a Phoenix, but won't be able to put it into play this turn.
No.
Siggy's only real play here is just Expressive Iteration.
Can he use Otawara at some point to reset the squirrel to any meaningful effect?
He could, but that is such a huge cost to do so. But if it's the difference between life and death, I imagine that's what he'll go for. But the thing is, I mean, David almost has him dead already.
Right. Another oven would easily put it over the top.
Look at this, Siggy not even attacking with the Sage.
Yeah, he recognizes that he could just be dead here, but so does David. He's going to Fatal push the Symmetry Sage. And this is a window for Unholy Heat to kill the familiar, right?
Right, but because there's a plant in play, you can just make a food and then just kind of do the same loop. Right. And of course, David has the backup familiar in hand as well.
So Sigrist says, yeah, sure. Am I dead?
I don't... Let me catch myself. I was going to say I don't think so, but hold on.
Yeah, you should always start with absolutely and then work your way back from there.
So let's see. Ravenous Squirrel can sacrifice the token, the plant, right? That'll turn it into a 6/6. You sack the familiar and you get it back. That turns it into an 8/8 and you get a drain.
Yep.
Right. David just doing all the things right now, so we'll find out.
Yeah, this is nice. You just described it, and now he's doing it.
There you go.
Ooh, Phyrexian Tower
does
as
that
well.
change things? Because now you can play that, sack the familiar, and then play the other familiar.
Yes.
And is that enough?
Feels like
The answer is probably. And if
the
not,
answer is no. Actually, absolutely. That's where we start. Is it
right.
enough? Absolutely.
Until proven wrong.
Yeah, I'll work
So
my way back
David
from
with
there.
lethal here.
Guaranteed lethal. Okay. Squirrel. 7/7. 12 is the life total for
8.
Sigrist.
This is 9.
And
Gets
down
him to 11.
11.
You sack the familiar. That's a 9/9, and you play the other familiar. Can't sack that one. So you'll have a 9/9 squirrel, and you'll get one more drain.
So it's
So
one
you'll get him
short.
down to 1 again. You'll get down to 1 again.
That's
One
good
short.
enough. I mean, Sigrist can't get him from 20 to 0 next turn. And he can't stop the Witch's Oven right now.
You can't stop the Witch's Oven unless he finds a way to kill the oven. Right?
Yes. But yes.
But
I mean, seriously, our shortcut of starting with absolutely was almost correct. We were one
Right.
damage off from that just being right from a starting point. It's incredible what this deck can do.
yeah, Mike can draw a hearse, I guess, right? And would also need to find a chump blocker.
Oh, you're right. That's the problem. The
So
familiar.
there are combinations of cards here, but of course, being at 1 life, we'll just say David has a lot of live draws, even if
Yeah.
Mike somehow finds a way out of this.
Yeah. So I guess Mike has to kill the familiar with Unholy Heat,
Sure.
and then hope to be able to wipe them out and also chump block or bounce.
Or kill the oven.
Yes.
Uh,
But he has to do 2 things. He has to either kill the
How
oven
can he
or
kill
take
the
out the
oven?
things and have a blocker for the squirrel.
Well, but you can pitch the Phoenix and have that as a chump blocker. Okay, those are
Yeah.
not going to get it done. I think that's it. Well, you can find.
We're grasping at
We're
straws
reaching here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so difficult to come up with a way for Sigrist to survive. He's just going to play Ledger
now he's
Shredder
just-
and
he's just
Channeler,
dead,
and that's
yeah.
him waving the white flag, giving up as it's not much else he can do here.
Ooh.
Witch's Oven, and he's going to do it
Two
with style. Sacrifice your 9/9, get an additional food, and that's a Cauldron Familiar. To finish things off, David Inglis is locked for top 8 here. A fantastic run capped off by not even having to play the last 2 rounds.